All right, guys, we're back for the gambling show. I'm here with Yanni. What's up, dude?
Not a lot, man. How are you?
Good, good. We skipped last week, it was a gambling show because Thanksgiving was happening, hanging out with the families. We got lives too. We did put in our picks though. Show didn't go up. I could have put up a community post, but no one's ever looked at them in the history of community posts. So I was like, yeah, we'll just cover it in the week 13 recap, and it's a perfect segue. Let's get into it. I had a 3-2 week last week. It still did not make money though. Reason being is that little cut that the casino takes, right? Instead of getting paid 2-1 on all your bets, they take a little cut out of it. I hit two of my bets, but because of that cut, right, I still had a losing week because I busted a parlay. So Texans plus 3.5 against,
Colts.
yeah, the Colts. That was it. This was we didn't get to talk about it on the show last week because there wasn't a show last week. But for me, this was a bet on one of the best defenses in the NFL against Danny Dimes on a fractured leg. Texans win outright. The Colts have lost three out of their last four games. It feels like they're leaking oil right now, really bad. I still think there are significant issues with this Texans team. I'm starting to see narratives floating around that the Texans are one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They're headed for the playoffs. I don't know. I know they play one side of the ball really well though, and Danny Dimes, and the Colts seem like they might be fucked here with the injury luck that they've sustained. So that one hit my underdog for the week. Next one was Seahawks minus 11.5 against Max Brosmer in the Vikings. This was a complete laugher. Was not close. Max Brosmer throws four picks. The Vikings do not score a point. Seahawks they look bad on offense actually. Sam Darnold's had put together like two or three not good weeks in a row of football, but Seahawks win like 26-0. I want to say. The theory here was that the Seahawks just beat the shit out of really bad teams, right? And when you scored two defensive touchdowns like the Seahawks did. They got me 30 fantasy points from the DST position in one league. I really appreciated that. But yeah, when you're scoring on both sides of the ball and the other team is struggling to play offense at like a college level, then it seemed like a good bet to me. That one hit. Next one was the Bills minus three against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. I picked against the Raw Tomlin spot. It was the first leg of my parlay because I really liked the pick. It was my second favorite pick on the board. I thought that this would be a drubbing with a hurt Aaron Rodgers and a pissed off Josh Allen in the Bills. This game was actually close going into half. I think it was like the Steelers were winning. I think like 8-3 or something, really close. And then at the end of the game, I guess in the second half, like the Steelers just could not move the ball with Aaron Rodgers. There's a great picture of him where he looks like one of like the thieves from Home Alone. It looks like he was trying to rob Kevin McAllister's house. He looks beat up to me. I love Aaron. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. Represents Chico. He even says Chico on like that little player thing they do at the beginning of the show. But I think this is it for him. I think this is it for the Steelers in general. They have not completed a pass over 15 yards in a month. You cannot win in the NFL that way. Bills at a field goal that covered pretty easily. Then we got my two misses. The Raiders plus 9.5 was the first one against the Chargers in SoFi. This is really funny because since I was back home for like the holidays or whatever, right? And I was at my dad's house like with all my recording equipment. Like I was like, Dad, what are we picking this week? And the two games he told me I should do, he said, well, you should pick the Lions because he's like a big Lions homer or whatever. And he goes, who are the Raiders playing? Pick that team. And I looked at it and I saw my beloved Oakland Raiders were getting 9.5 points against the Chargers with, missing their two starting tackles. The Chargers just have not looked good. The last time they played football, they lost 35-3 to the Jaguars, who I also don't think are a good team, right? So I said, okay, Raiders plus 9.5. That looks fine to me. I think I'll take a gross underdog in it. I think it covers. It was a little close, like at halftime, but eventually the Chargers pull away. Justin Herbert breaks his hand in the first quarter and still comes out there and plays and beats the Raiders at margin. The Raiders suck, boys. I need to get over my Raiders copium. It's costing me money. It's making me look stupid. I just want Brock Bowers and to perform for me. Then the Broncos minus 5.5. I'll save that for you, Yanni. I will say though it was my favorite pick of the week, and I'm shocked it did not come home. Right. So 3-2 week overall. Like I said, barely lost money just because the casino vig or whatever, right? So the season record improves to 29-36, but the profit and loss goes down, I guess, or up, whatever way you want to count it, right? So now I'm over 9 units in the red. So all year I've been coping and telling myself, "Oh, we got plenty of time to make it up. Oh, we got plenty of time to make it up." We're running out of time to make it up. There's what is this? One, two, three, four. There's only 5 weeks left, and I need to get $1,000 out of the hole, basically. Running out of time, but we're gonna give it our best shot here, boys.
Yeah, I had another terrible week. I have actually lost all my parlays and all my money for 4 weeks straight. I went from +3 units to minus almost 10 units now. So it's the biggest cold streak of my betting career. It's been brutal. Rams and Panthers under 45.5. I think they went for 59 points. I think it was 28-31. I felt like part of that was like two scores that came directly as some very weird Matt Stafford turnovers. I don't know if the total would have gotten there if not, but it doesn't really matter. It wasn't anywhere. I mean, 45.5. It hit over by over 2 touchdowns or just under 2 touchdowns. Miss. Browns plus 4.5. I was expecting a snow game here. That was basically what I was betting on, was an inclement weather game, a really heavy inclement weather game. I did all my 49ers have picks based on that. I went 3-2 on the week, which isn't terrible, but it's not great. It was not a weather game, and actually the 49ers played pretty well. Nothing impressive or nothing explosive, but they had two really big special teams plays, two turnovers on the Browns, one on the Browns side of the field. One was a Sky Moore return, which set up a touchdown that was 14 points toward them. And then the Browns went for it with a tight end QB sneak on their own, I believe, 29 or 39-yard line. So 21 points right there as a direct result of pretty weird plays. I don't know if that was necessarily a bad process. I certainly didn't think the Browns would win outright. I just thought they'd be able to lose by 3 or 4 points. They didn't. The Falcons minus 2.5 against the Jets. They lost by a field goal. They lost outright. That one was pretty surprising. Like Tyrod Taylor played pretty great ball. Adonai Mitchell had a breakout game. Brees Hall had a pretty good game. Again, I was kind of just betting that one of the better pass defenses in the NFL would make the Jets pretty one-dimensional and then stuff them when they had to start passing. That wasn't what happened. Tyrod Taylor threw all over them, much to the chagrin of an overweight sports bettor. And then the Colts and Texans under 44.5. The point total for this game was 36. That one was good process. I just think in general, like we probably want to be picking Texans unders. Now this week it was pretty low with the Chiefs missing 3 linemen. Otherwise, I probably would have been in on it again. And then the Broncos Skins. I mean, it's hard to say what exactly happened there. Mariota actually played a very good game. They got a little bit fluky at the end with some good luck with some weird calls. Zach Ertz had a total throwback game, and then Terry McLaurin exploded for his best game of the year and had a pretty great touchdown at the end of the game and a great catch before that to set it up in overtime. Again, like to me, I was betting a lot of these games were me betting on these really good defenses to show up, and maybe that's like a dubious proposition, right? Because a lot has to go into playing good defense. I feel like I made like 2 or 3 bets this week that were essentially just bets on the defense playing their level for the season, and it just didn't happen. It's a bummer though, man. I take this stuff really seriously. I take it really personally. I'm almost 10 units in the hole. It's embarrassing. I'm 28, 36 and 1. Ted's up by me on a half a point and almost a full unit. And it's not for a lack of trying. It's not for a lack of trying. Hopefully we get things right this week. We're going to keep working on the year, but it is frustrating. It has been a really frustrating year as a bettor. I've seen a bunch of debate online. Is this a year for the sharps? Is this a year for the squares? It seems like every week it oscillates, and I just keep missing whichever side I'm on. Like some weeks I'm very public, and that is the week that you wanted to be really sharp. Some weeks I'm going for underdogs and some weird totals, and that's the week you wanted to be really public. I just feel like I keep ending up on the wrong side of that and taking losses here.
Well, I mean, you're not alone in this. We are both getting destroyed. We're like the
Yeah,
JJ McCarthy of sports bettors right now. Both 9 units in the red. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking this week is going to be a good one for both of us, though, because we have a lot of consensus. And here are the week 14 picks. Three consensus picks. Again, we don't share these picks before or anything. We don't compare picks and decide to ride together. It just happened to be that's what happened, right? So
Yep.
for me, I have one two-leg parlay. It's going to be the Seahawks minus 6.5 and the Redskins minus 1.5. Yanni's also in on that same parlay, as it turns out. I'm also picking the Ravens minus 5.5 as a single bet. I am, it was hard for me to try and find 5 games to pick for this week, right? I don't really like the point totals as much. I think I lose a lot of my edge on them. And I thought, what is the crux of this show. What is something that we've been harping on for years and years and years? It's that the Mike Tomlin rah rah spot magic is not real, and we bet on the better teams, right? And I feel like the Ravens are at least 5.5 points better than the current version of the Steelers, so I took that. Next one, Broncos minus 7.5. I've gotten burned by the Raiders so much, I'm going to pick a team that looks disgusting but is 11-2 somehow. Nothing else to say about that. Then the Eagles Chargers over 41.5. This is really interesting. Like, if you told me that the defending Super Bowl champions and then with Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts would be playing a team in prime time that has Justin Herbert on it and Lad McConkey, I'm shocked at this point total. I think that you know, both of these teams have looked weird throughout the year, and people don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring. I think that this game will be better than a lot of people think, and I think it hits the over 41.5. So how the dollars and cents work out, if I hit the two-leg parlay, that returns $356.92. The three single games could return $577.87. On a perfect 5-0 week, I would return $934.79. The ticket cost is $400 because we have the one two-leg parlay. And again, I am so far in the red here that even a perfect 5-0 week does not get me to 500 or in the green, but it would get me a hell of a lot closer, and I need it. So 5-0 week coming right up, boys.
Yeah. So again, I actually did not realize we both did the same parlay. That's kind of why I don't think we've ever done that before, like ever. Interested to see how it turns out. The Seahawks minus 6.5 on the road. It is a big number to bet the Seahawks, but you're getting the right side of the hook on the touchdown win. I thought Kirk Cousins looked terrific last week. They're playing with no Drake London again. Darnell Mooney just does not look, he doesn't look healthy to me, but he's been bad all year, whatever the case may be. Kyle Pitts, we're probably done with the Kyle Pitts experience. And then I'm parlaying that with the Skins because I actually think the Skins are a really good value too. I know they were plus 1.5 earlier in the week when it looked like it was Marcus Mariota going against Brian Flores because Brian Flores has been a really, really good defensive coordinator this year. And I would not expect Mariota to go in there and pull out a win on the road. I do actually think Jaden Daniels coming back is a really big deal. I mean, I'm saying that like it's interesting, right? But or like it's some unique idea I came up with, but I do. That's a big deal. And Terry McLaurin looked really healthy to me last week, and Christian Rodriguez has actually been running the ball a lot better than what they've had for most of this year. So to me, I'm expecting a big bounce back from the Skins. We're going to go ahead and bet on it. Steelers Ravens under 43.5. This is purely a process bet. Historically, it has been a really good bet when the Ravens and Steelers play because these are two really public teams that people love. They're always prominent in fantasy games, right? So people tend to like to bet the over here when it's not the appropriate time to do so. So process bet, trend bet. I'm doing the you know, the not think about football, just play the numbers game with that one. Eagles minus 2.5. And then obviously, like Ted said, we're both taking the over 41.5. I agree with him. I think the number's too low. I'm aware the Chargers have a good defense, but I don't know. To me, the Eagles look like they found something here, which is featuring AJ Brown aggressively. That's absolutely what they should be doing. I felt like minus 2.5. You're getting the right side of the hook. You're getting a really good number. And the Chargers have a one-handed Justin Herbert missing two of the most important things on their whole team, which are their two offensive tackles. I don't think that can be understated. And then the over two, as we'll get into, is a little bit of a trend thing with Jalen Carter and how the defense has performed without him this year. So total parlay return 721.38. Total other return 183.33. Total return on the week 904.71. Total cost $300 on the ticket, including the ticket cost. I am down $1,283 this week. So I need a big week to bounce back. Or for the first time, I believe in the show's history, we're going to have a 4-digit red number on the screen. Season total 28, 36, and 1. Okay, starting off our slate. All right, we're riding together on our parlay. A first for free Tendies fantasy history, a free Tendies fantasy parlay. If this year has taught you anything, it's probably that you want to bet against it. But let's get into it. The Seahawks with a total of with a spread of minus 6.5 on the road at the Falcons. 78% of total bets against the spread have gone on the Seahawks. 76% of total dollars bet have gone on the Seahawks. Very public thing here. And for good reason. The Seahawks have been a wagon this year in 2025. They are 9-3 against the spread. The Falcons are 5-6-1 against the spread. Your offensive rank for the Seahawks, they are 9th in yards gained, 6th in yards allowed on defense. And the Falcons are 17th in offensive rank, 14th in defensive rank. And those are numbers that factor in with Michael Penix. I don't know what the specific splits are with Kirk Cousins Cousins, but I cannot imagine what they've been. It's been pretty terrible football from Kirk, and that really first and foremost is what this bet is for me. I don't think Kirk Cousins is an NFL caliber quarterback anymore. I really don't think he is. I've seen his name floated around in like bridge quarterback conversations. I don't think he's at that level anymore. I don't think their head coach is a very good head coach. I don't think their offensive coordinator is a very good offensive coordinator. To me, what this team has devolved into is they have the second leader in the NFL in scrimmage yards per game in Bijan Robinson, and that's it. They don't even have Drake London out there, who was one of the best receivers in football this year. I don't really know what the Falcons are holding on to here, or hanging their hat on, I should say. They play pretty good defense. I think their draft picks hit pretty reliably. I think if their offensive line gets healthy next year and they invest in offensive line, like I think they have the basis of a team, but none of that's happening right now. I think the drop off from Penix to Kirk Cousins has been like remarkable. Dude, I don't know what Mike McDaniel, like, that's a good coach, man. That's just a really good coach. It's a really good scheme. It's a scheme that I believe in. Like I think he's just been dominating these lower tier teams, and I think we kind of have to get used to the fact that he dominates these lower tier teams. He also, in my opinion, developed a scheme to directly counteract the McShanahan, McVay tree, right? Where they disguise coverages pre-snap so you can't do the 1-2 read and get the ball out. It's kind of like a thing that I've noticed over and over. He tends to really mess up these coaches. Atlanta's a pretty bad rushing defense. The Seahawks have really gotten their run game underneath them with getting Kenneth Walker going, and then Charbonnet's been reliable in the short yardage work. I don't know if they're going to have an answer to JSN. To me, this was like a very easy bet. There were two of these that I just immediately penciled in when I was going through the slate, and they were the Skins and the Seahawks. That's why they're in my parlay. I assume it's the same for Ted. I'll let him weigh on it, but this was just a very easy one. I didn't really even – it was not too much thinking. I went through the slate and there weren't very many I liked. This was one of the two that I really loved, just instantly wrote down right off the bat, and I feel really good about it. I would be again, I guess it's happened enough this year. It's short of the only thing that I could see happening that would blow this bet is Bijan goes for 200 yards. If Bijan runs for 200 yards and like 3 touchdowns, sure, maybe that is the way the bet goes. But short of one of the better performances all year from a running back out of Bijan Robinson, I don't see any way this doesn't come home.
Well, I mean, I don't think that Bijan's going to produce in this
No.
game in the traditional sense because the Seahawks have been so good at stuffing the run, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like all of the Bijan yards would be on like little dump off passes. And I mean, I kind of landed at the same place you did. I want to aggressively bet against Kirk Cousins here. This Seahawks team, like when they're beating the shit out of these really bad teams, what they're doing is they're getting defensive touchdowns as well. The Seahawks have 5 defensive touchdowns this year, which is insane. It's insane, right? And when you're scoring on both sides of the ball, things can get out of hand really quickly. You get forced into passing downs, and without Drake London out there, with Darnell Mooney looking like a ghost of himself, it seems like a tough ask for me for Kirk, right? The path I could see to the Seahawks not covering this number would be if Sam Darnold throws picks, right? I know this Falcons team just got destroyed by Bryce Young, and who'd they play last week? The Falcons, Tyrod Taylor, yeah, Tyrod Taylor threw for 250 on him, right? So I'm not even sure how good this passing defense is. I know for
Yeah.
sure that teams have what teams have been doing now because we've kind of called this out about the Seahawks that they are a one-trick pony, but it's a good trick. What teams are doing now is they're shadowing coverage over towards JSN and trying to dare Sam Darnold to throw the ball anywhere else other than that direction. I think if the Falcons, know what they're doing defensively, if Raheem Morris is not a complete stump, like he will try and do that. But I mean, under a touchdown, especially with this Seahawks team that they're kind of shaping up like the Dolphins from 2023, where they just are can
Oh, stop.
crushers. I think they're total can crushers. Like
Oh, stop.
that's
That
that
is a
that's not
hating.
that's not no, it's not a hating comment. It's saying that they will destroy bad teams. They take care of business. Like who doesn't destroy bad teams? The Rams. You know who doesn't destroy bad teams? The Chiefs. They let them in games. The Seahawks don't let these bad teams in games. I don't think that's even an insulting thing to say. Like,
I I actually saw an interesting. I'll pull it up real quick because I'm curious. I saw an interesting thing saying they don't have big wins this year, and I'm scrolling through real quick to
the
see what
Seahawks, I
their
mean,
biggest.
they don't
They
really.
beat the Texans. They beat the Texans, which I guess is good offensively. They beat the Steelers. Oh my God, are those their two biggest wins?
Yeah,
Oh, they beat the Jaguars.
yeah.
Okay,
They beat the Jaguars.
I guess
Like, what
I
are we
guess
doing?
Okay, you know what? I retract my. I guess that's fair to say. If their biggest wins this year are the Jaguars, the Texans, and the Steelers, that's yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't think they're a bad team. I think they're a pretty good team. Like I think they're in the mix for the Super Bowl in the NFC, right? But I'm not out here saying that they're like an elite team and are going to win the Super Bowl. I just think they're pretty good. Like the same tier as like the Patriots, and I've said this for like months now at this point, right? They're both pretty good teams. I don't think they're going to make a serious run in the playoffs, but what the Seahawks are doing better than any other team is can crushing, and that's why they're 9-3 against the spread. Been a great bet for bettors all year. I think this one comes home for us. First leg of the parlay.
I feel good about it, dude. I feel great about this, and I feel great about this next one too.
Yep. Next one is the Redskins at the Vikings. For those of you who are regular watchers of the program, I think I've bet against the Redskins for like the past 3 weeks straight. They have been, in my estimation, one of the worst teams in football. But circumstances have changed this week, and I am willing to lay a point and a half with them against Minnesota on the road, which is, that was a scary place to play last year, not so much this year. Here's the betting breakdown. 77% of total bets against the spread are on the Redskins, and 76% of the dollars against the spread are on the Redskins. So this is a public pick. That's fine though. I feel like the public is on to something here. Season records against the spread. Both of these teams are 4-8. I think that's just kind of what both these teams have been is bad and disappointing based on what they were last year. Offensive and defensive ranks, the Redskins are 15th in offensive yards gained and 31st in defensive yards allowed. Just want to put a little star on this. The Redskins have, I guess, made it to middle of the pack in terms of yards gained without Jaden Daniels for almost half the season. I think that's a credit to Marcus Mariota and credit to Cliff Kingsbury at a minimum. Then for the Vikings, they're 29th in offensive yards gained. That is the 9 effect right there, the J.J. McCarthy effect, and 10th in defensive yards allowed. Their defense has really played better for the past month or so. So you got to tip your cap to Brian Flores, but it has not been good enough to result in a winning season for the Vikings. And I'll make this very simple, right? I think that the fact that Jaden Daniels should be back for this game and JJ McCarthy is still the quarterback for the Vikings is good enough for me to lay less than a field goal with the Redskins here. I mean, Jaden, he brought this team, which I think is not that different from what it was last year, to an NFC championship. He does so much other than passing the ball, right? He's very mobile. He makes good reads. He's an accurate thrower as well, right? And to me, I think that he just has this weird type of magic that like only certain players have. I think Baker has had it, or at least at the beginning of this year, Baker Mayfield had that weird like magic whenever he was in the game. I really trust Jaden in almost any situation. Like if the Redskins in this game are down, let's say 4 points, they need a touchdown to win the game, like in a 2 minute drill. I absolutely think Jaden Daniels gets that done, right? Especially with Terry McLaurin back. And Terry, I was bullying Yanni all year about his Terry McLaurin bullishness. Dude looks good. Maybe they'll get their money's worth here in the last 3 weeks, assuming Jaden doesn't get injured again. But yeah, I mean that's why I like the Redskins side a little bit more. And then the Vikings, man, it is just disgusting. The offensive output the entire year has been disgusting and not good enough. I didn't think it could get much worse than JJ McCarthy, but Max Brosmer showed us. He showed us. So JJ is going to be back in this game. I do think the Vikings score some points here. I'm actually in in free Tendies Fantasy League One. I am rolling out the JJ McCarthy and Justin Jefferson stack. I have gone all the way in on this. I said there's no way this team does anything if Justin Jefferson doesn't start first round picking. So I'm invested in it in fantasy, but it seems sketchy to me. Like I think that the Vikings scoring 24 points would be very positive. It would be better than I expected, honestly. And this is against a horrendous Redskins team, so I mean, it's more so that the Vikings are broken offensively than the Redskins playing good defense or having good scheme with their head coach Dan Quinn. So that's why I landed on it. It's a tale of two quarterbacks from the same draft class. The Vikings, I think they're kicking themselves for their selection in the 2024 draft. How'd you land at the same spot, man?
So I pulled out a great or Derek Brown pulled up a great one today. Minnesota has the highest rate of too high in the NFL at 66.4%. That is like a quintessential aspect of the Brian Flores defense. Against too high since Jaden Daniels came in the NFL, he is number one in passer rating, seventh in yards per attempt, first in completions over expectation. So I would expect, if we know this, Brian Flores knows this, I expect him to come at him with something a little different. But traditionally, Jaden Daniels has performed extremely well against Brian Flores' preferred style of defense. Jaden has some pretty noticeable splits versus man and zone in his career. Terry McLaurin did look healthy to me. It's actually kind of funny. A few people in the free Tendies cluster do follow like our show. And I got messages from a few guys saying, should I trade for Terry? He's basically free. And I said, sure. Over the course of the year, I told him, yeah, keep buying on Terry. And now I got messages back this week going, dude, are we about to flex Terry for the playoffs? Which I don't know if I am. I don't know how I feel about it. But I'm starting him this week in a bunch of places. I have Tedero on by in a bunch of places. I don't trust Aaron Jones because of his shoulder injury. Trey Benson's not coming back. Like there are some rosters where I have now pressed Terry McLaurin into service this week. So we'll see how it goes. I am starting him over Luther Burden. For those of you that are all excited about Burden, I have Burden on a bunch of ones. Terry McLaurin, Luther Burden, please. Yeah. But I think Terry actually did look pretty healthy to me. And then Jaden, it's just so weird, right? Because we don't know. I cannot imagine in my wildest imagination of attempting to mind read the front office and coaching staff of the Commanders or the Skins. I cannot imagine they're going to put Jaden out there if he's less than, maybe not 100%. I don't think it's possible he's at 100%. But if he's at like serious risk of re-injury or if he's not able to capably play football, they have nothing to play for at this point of the year. I have no idea why they would let him take the field. So my working assumption here is that we're going to see something close to 85 or 90 or even 95% of Jaden Daniels, probably far less mobile. Or if he is, he's not going to push it as far. But like as far as a game like this, 1.5 points, I know people say 2 is a key number. I don't really consider 2 a key number, but I guess the sharps do. We're technically getting the right side of the hook on a key number of 2. So yeah, I don't know. I feel really good about that. I don't think JJ McCarthy this year is going to be that guy. I do fully expect, like Ted said, I actually fully expect the Vikings to score points here. I was tempted to take the over in this game. It's just that I am a little weary of Brian Flores playing. He's pretty good. Brian Flores is a good defensive coordinator, but I feel great about this. It's why I parlayed it. It's why we parlayed it. I would love to say, of all the trials and tribulations this year, that we hit our first ever free Tendies consensus parlay.
Well, I hope that Jordan was not the one asking if we're
Was not
flexing
Jordan.
Terry for the playoffs because he is debatably not in the playoffs. We'll see.
It is.
Jordan has to win his game this week to make it in.
Jordan does. I'm rooting for. I like Jordan. He's a
I'm
good
rooting
dude.
for him too. The other team that he's playing is so unexciting. Like it would be
Yeah.
easier for me if I can win my matchup to play that team, but I'd prefer to beat Jordan, get him back.
Oh man, it'd be great. Okay, Steelers at Ravens. Ted has the Ravens -5.5 at home. I'm taking the under 43.5. I went with boring trend bet. Ted is going for the big balls, crazy bucking. Ted is bucking like 5 major trends with this matchup, which is awesome. I'm rooting for him. I don't know if the public necessarily is, but the sharps are. 58% of total bets placed against the spread have gone on the Steelers. Only 45% of total dollars bet against the spread have gone on the Steelers. So that's a pretty good lean. 42% of the bettors took the Ravens, but 55% of the dollars went to the Ravens. So some big money is coming in on the Baltimore Ravens. This year against the spread, these are both pretty bad teams. The Steelers are 5-7. The Ravens are 4-8. Remember, that involves a hobbled Lamar Jackson and some backup quarterbacks in there. Typically, the Ravens are a covering machine. They just haven't been this year. And then for the over-under, 58% of total bets placed have gone on the over. However, 47% of the dollars placed have gone on the over, as opposed to 42% of total bets, 53% of total dollars on the under. So the sharp money prefers the under here. It's kind of a historical trend that I'm playing, right? So the season record on the over under, the Steelers are 6-6 and the Ravens are 7-5. So they've actually either been neutral or preferred the over most of the time this year. I just think this Ravens defense is significantly healthier than it was in the beginning of the year. They played pretty good ball. I'm wondering if we're going to get some kind of cheap unders here before the market catches up, and especially in this one, I feel like 43.5 was a little bit spicy. The offensive rank for the Steelers are 27th and looking worse day by day. It looks like Aaron Rodgers is pretty hobbled at this point. Their defensive rank is 28th and looking worse day by day. TJ Watt was on the injury report all week. I do believe he's going to go. I think they took him off today, but he hasn't been practicing this week, and he's also played pretty bad ball this year. And then for the Ravens, 20th in offense, 28th in defense. Again, in defense, they've been slowly climbing as they've gotten healthier. In offense, it's really been the last 3 or 4 weeks of Lamar being pretty bad. I was all excited thinking he would get through a full week this week, but he did his usual DNP midweek, and then he got back to full today. I don't really care what their injury report says. I'll be honest with you. I'm assuming that Lamar Jackson is not going to be 100% for 2025. This is now like 6 or 7 different lower body injuries he's been listed for at some point in the last 6 weeks. It's kind of ridiculous. However, at least for my part of it, the under, that is why I like the under. I think they're going to be more than happy to feed Derrick Henry 25 to 30 touches this week. They apologized last week for not featuring Derrick Henry enough. I think the Steelers, if they can, because the Ravens are far more gettable on the ground, I think the Steelers are going to try to go in there with a pretty run-heavy game plan, also hide the fact that Aaron Rodgers has a broken arm. Aaron took a big sack last week, had to leave the game, did not look good, didn't look like he took contact well, got his face all mangled, like Ted was saying. It's just, to me, it's really, I don't know who saw the Steelers in the beginning of the year and thought, oh my God, this team might go 12-5 or, 13-4. We certainly did not. It sort of just feels like they're on very different trajectories here. And maybe it's copium, right, as a heavy Lamar investor in fantasy. I just feel like at some point we are going to see a Lamar-like performance here. He's taken sacks at one of the highest rates in the NFL. He's shown one of the lowest rates of escapability in the NFL. Like, I do think that comes around. But as far as my part of this, the under, like, I really think that this game might be one of the faster games, like in the slate. When you look up in one game's like 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I do not see this being an air it out football game. I believe there's weather hitting the East Coast. I didn't see any for this game specifically, but we have like 4 weather games this week. It's going to be freezing cold, weather or no weather. I don't think they're conducive conditions to a big shootout. I think the Ravens are going to be really happy to ground and pound a slim margin of victory when I do think Ted covers, for the record, before he gets into his part. I would prefer the Ravens here to the Steelers very much so, but as Ted will explain, that is a big balls bet. That is a big boy pick if he's going to go ahead and take the Ravens -5.5, and I respect him for doing it.
Well, I mean, I think big boy pick is relative, right? Depending on what you look at. So here's the big stat that like everyone who bets the NFL, everyone who pays attention to this stuff will know this figure. But Mike Tomlin's record against the Ravens against the spread since he became the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers is 13-3-2. And AFC North AFC North underdogs tend to cover in divisional games, and Mike Tomlin covers at a 58% clip as a underdog. So those are the trends you're betting against when you bet against, as Chad so lovingly calls it, the rah-rah Tomlin spot. But it comes down to a couple of things for me, right? I think, and let me just say first, I am super guilty of being higher on the Steelers this year than I was definitely the past year. The Steelers were probably my most made fun of team last year because I thought they were so fake good, right? And I really liked that they brought in Aaron Rodgers because I thought that it gave them some ceiling in competence at the quarterback position that they had not seen in a long time. And I think earlier on in the year, we saw the vision a little bit. They started out 3-0, wins against the Patriots. They looked good. The defense was giving up yards, right? But they were still winning football games. But to me, it is very clear the wheels are falling off Aaron. I hate to say that. I don't like to say that. Huge Aaron Rodgers fan. But I think it's done. I think it's done. I think he's going to be out there, and it's done. Like I said earlier, they have not completed a pass 15 yards or further down the field in a month. DK Metcalf, he's a physical freak at the wide receiver position, but he doesn't run good routes, right? He's not going to get open and give Aaron those easy throws. And the rest of the skill position group, right? It's like you got Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson out wide.
You have Adam Thielen now.
Oh, Adam Thielen. Sorry, yeah, big signing for the Steelers. They needed to get that locker room even older.
There you go.
They have like an okay tight end room. Johnny Smith, Fryermuth, and that big giant guy Darnell Washington. Like they're all fine tight ends, but like they're not explode. They're not George Kittle, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride type of tight ends, right? They're like kind of ho hum. The backfield kind of lacks explosiveness. I think Jalen Warren's been like solid all year, right? But they're rolling out Kenny Gainwell entirely too much. It just feels like offensively, I don't think the Steelers are getting to 13 points here against a Ravens team that has been playing better, right? And to me, I don't have any bags on Lamar Jackson in fantasy, so I'm not as emotionally invested in this or maybe as doomer as we might get for some of our fantasy players. I think it's going to turn around for Lamar here. I understand that he is 0-5 against the spread against the Steelers. No, no, he's not. It's like I think he covered once last year. So I think he's like overall he has one win against the Steelers in his career. They have had his number, but in a season where everything is seemed to go backwards from what you'd think, right? Maybe Lamar balls out here against the Steelers. I don't know. Like to me, like the Ravens are at a minimum a competent football team. They still have Derrick Henry in the weather.
Yep.
Under a touchdown was a play for me. And you know what? I gotta make this pick for like it's the culture of the show. It's what this show stands for, making picks that maybe the sharps wouldn't tell you to pick, but it's what we see on the field, right? And what I see on the field right now is a Steelers team that's deeply in shit. The only way I see the Steelers covering this is if they get a defensive touchdown or those classic impact Steelers like plays on defense. They've had a couple games where they've gotten those, but it hasn't been as regular as we're used to seeing. So I feel like Ravens is the side here. Willing to look stupid on this, by the way. All right, next one. This is me. This is a standalone game. Yanni has no action on this. It's the only one of these this week, which is surprising. But I am taking the somehow 11 and 2 Denver Broncos, or 10 and 2, sorry, going into Oakland, or not Oakland, Las Vegas to play the Raiders. God, I fucked up like twice there. Uh, Betting breakdown, the Broncos are getting 79% of total bets against the spread and 89% of the dollars against the spread. So we got some whale action coming in on the Broncos here. Listen, we have a two-loss football team playing a two-win football team, and the spread isn't 16. So I get why people are betting on this Broncos team. I am too. And just for the record, the juice on the books right now. And when I say juice, that means like the odds that they give you, right? Like minus 115, minus 110, that sort of thing. Right now, the Broncos are paying out a straight 2-1 if they cover this number, which is part of the reason I took the wrong side of the hook and the Broncos in this game. Season records against the spread. The Broncos are 5-7, although they have 10 wins, they've only covered 5 times, which means they are underperforming to expectation. And the Raiders are 4-8 against the spread, two-win football team, and they're not covering that much more either. It looks bad. Vegas doesn't think they're good, and they've performed even worse. Offensive and defensive ranks. The Broncos are 12th in offensive yards gained and 5th in defensive yards allowed. And the Raiders are 30th in offensive yards gained and 15th in defensive yards allowed. So when I look at this game, right, I think that a lot of people will want to point to the game that happened 2 weeks ago in Thursday night standalone. It was in Mile High, and the Broncos barely squeaked by the Raiders 10-7, right? And I feel like a lot of people might start with, well, it was a 3-point game last time. Why would you bet over a touchdown in this spot? I feel like not a lot of people really understood the effect the weather had in that game. We saw a shanked punt where the punter dropped the ball, and the wind moved the ball like on that short path to like the guy's foot. Right? That's insane amounts of wind. Like they were trying to spot the ball, and it was rolling around because it was so windy. They couldn't get the ball to sit still. Right? I feel like that very, very negatively affected the Broncos offense in that contest. Obviously, it affected the Raiders too, right? But the Raiders, us be honest here. Geno Smith is a dead man walking. He is the fraud that us Niners fans knew that he was. It's a bummer because I've been rooting for the Raiders a little bit. They're like a little brother to me. I thought Pete Carroll, like it was cool that the Raiders got him, but Jesus Christ, it could not be any worse than this, right? So to me, what this bet is I'm betting on what should be one of the best defenses in the league. I know that the Broncos just gave up a ton of points to Marcus Mariota and the Redskins last week, but I'm still handicapping them as a top five defense in the league against Geno Smith, I mean, they have Ashton Genty that the Raiders do, which is nice, but the line can't block for him, so he can't go anywhere, right? The Raiders' number one wide receiver right now is Trey Tucker, who is not should not be a wide receiver one anywhere. At best, he's like a speedy little wide receiver three, right? So really, it is the Broncos have one assignment in this game. It's to contain Brock Bowers. I don't even expect them to stop him completely like they did the last time they played because of the weather. But I think that Denver very clearly knows here. Just don't let that guy beat you, and we should be fine here. It's a bet that Bo Nix can at least have a somewhat functional game. I know that's not happened a lot this year. I think Bo Nix has looked really bad. I think he's regressed from where he was last year as a rookie. But this is the Oakland Raiders we're talking about. Sorry, Las Vegas Raiders. I keep calling them Oakland Raiders because I'm a Bay Area guy. But the Raiders have Max Crosby on defense and absolutely no one else. I understand it says they're 15th in defensive yards allowed, but I'm handicapping them as like a bottom third defensive unit. Like, really, the Broncos just need to not shoot themselves in the foot. I think this covers pretty easily. I mean, what did the Chargers beat the Raiders by last week? Like 13, 16 points, and Justin Herbert has a broken hand, and is missing both of his tackles. I think at this if we take a snapshot at this point in time, I think the Broncos are objectively better than the Chargers right now. Make no mistake, I'm not a fan of this Broncos team. I think they have one and done written all over them in the playoffs. I think whatever card team makes it in smacks them in the first round. But I think they're 7.5 points better than the Raiders here. Is it because the Raiders broke my heart last week and they did not do it for me in my Raiders radar spot? I'm not sure, but it feels like a good pick. What do you think, Yanni?
It kills me to see the state of the Raiders because they have three of my favorite players at their positions in the whole NFL. Max Crosby, one of the sickest players I've ever seen play D end. Like absolutely a one-man army on defense, right? If he were on a better franchise, like he'd be talked about in like defensive player of the year and MVP discussions. Ashton Genty, one of my favorite running back prospects I've ever seen. I dreamed of the damage he could do if he landed like, on some proficient offense, but he didn't. And then Brock Bowers is like one of the coolest tight ends in the history of the sport already, in my opinion. Just one of the coolest guys. Doesn't move like anyone else, doesn't do things like anyone else, is super unique, and it's just all being wasted. Um, about the game, to me, I have a really hard time. So I did look at this one. I've been burned so many times taking this Broncos team at lower figures against just as bad of teams. Like the fact that last week they beat the Skins by a point on a failed 2-point conversion and would have lost the game outright if not. I don't know. To me, Bo Nix is the craziest range of outcomes of any player in the sport. Any player in this, I cannot think of it specifically at quarterback. I guess right. Maybe that's too big of a statement at non-quarterback. I cannot think of a player that I don't know if we're going to get 290 yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns, or we're going to get 142 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. And it's like any given week. I don't even think it matters the opponent. I really don't. Like you don't know. Now, the Raiders are very vulnerable on the ground. Sean Payton said with RJ Harvey, he had a quote this week saying, "You guys have not seen anything yet with what we're going to do with the kid." Maybe they come out there and give like the running game 35 carries and it's just a run all over them game, in which case, yeah, I think they pretty easily cover it. It weirds me out so much not knowing what to get from Knicks that I'm like shell shocked with this Broncos team. So they've just become a stay away for me. But it's not like on paper, I certainly would bet your side of it. On paper, I certainly think it covers. The problem is I've been burnt like 5 times this year by Denver. It's just been the most frustrating. I don't understand what's wrong with it. Their defense is incredible. Their running game has been, for the most part, either above average to like top 5 in the league. And then Bo Nix has these flashes where he looks great with what looks to be a pretty damn good receiving core, like all around. Not amazing, but like a high floor, good group of players. And I don't know what keeps missing. So that's all for me. This is just Bo Nix leeriness. I'm just weird. I'm creeped out by the way he shows up one week and doesn't the other week. That I'm not taking him in over a touchdown, but I do think you have the right side, and I do think it is.
Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix, I don't think I bet the Broncos as a favorite once this year and had it hit.
And
So you said you
five
bet him
times
five times? Oh, Jesus
I've
Christ.
lost 5 times on the Broncos this year.
Yeah, that
Done.
yeah, I get it. The way I kind of profile Bo Nix at this point is that he has his good games against really terrible teams. Like if the Broncos play a legitimate team, I think Bo Nix has one of those bad games. I just don't think the Raiders are there. Maybe I don't know. If this doesn't cover, I think people would be like, well, see, it was close last time and you should have known that. But I really think that weather like played a huge factor in
Yes,
the last time these
absolutely.
two teams played. I saw Colin Cowherd like during the game make a tweet like shitting on the punter for the Broncos. Like he was like, I've never seen a punter shank it that bad. He needs to like be fired or whatever. And like
Yeah,
I like Colin. No, hey dude, hey idiot. Like the wind was so bad like that it blew the ball. He deleted his tweet.
yeah, yep.
I shame Colin Cowherd into deleting a tweet.
Indoors, man, indoors. Bo Nix should have plenty of chances to get it going.
Definitely more Broncos fans in the stadium than Raiders fans too, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Oh, it'll
Yeah.
be. I bet you the Raiders will be on silent count. Absolutely. Okay. So we both have bets on this one. We're both riding together on the total, and I'm taking the Eagles -2.5. Eagles -2.5 at the San Diego Chargers. That's funny. At the LA Chargers. Me and Ted are both. We're getting too old. At the LA Chargers, with the over under of 41.5, which felt a little bit too low to both of us, even with the injuries in the trenches to both teams. The return of Omarion Hampton, what do we get out of him? I'm not expecting a whole lot, but I am excited to have him back. He's a great young player. 59% of total bets against the spread have gone on the Eagles. 58% of total dollars bet against the spread have gone on the Eagles, as opposed to 41% of bets and 42% of dollars for the Chargers. Pretty even, no big whaling. Against the spread this year, the Eagles are 7-5. Against the spread this year, the Chargers are 6-6. 71% of total dollars bet have gone on the over. 80% of total dollars bet. Excuse me, 71% of total bets have gone on the over. 80% of total dollars bet have gone on the over. So this one is a pretty big public and pretty big whaling. I mean, 9% when you're at 70% is really good. 29% of total bets have gone on the under, 20% of total dollars. So I think me and Ted are definitely on the sharp side there, even though we're with the public. Season record over under, the Eagles are 5-7. Season record over under, the Chargers are 6-6. For the Eagles, I was actually absolutely stunned to read this. Their offense is the 25th ranked offense in the NFL. Their defense is the 25th ranked defense in the NFL, in terms of yardage allowed and yardage gained. Stunning, but that is true. For the Chargers, their offensive rank is 10th. Their defensive rank is 3rd. So the Chargers have been a really productive team on both sides of the ball this year. Why am I taking the Eagles -2.5 on the road then? I think their D line plays really, really good football. I know Jalen Carter's out, and they've allowed quite a few rushing yards. Actually, there's pretty big splits with Jalen Carter in or out because he's one of the best defensive tackles in the sport. That shouldn't be ignored. But what also shouldn't be ignored is the fact that the Chargers are missing what I consider to be the best tackle tandem in the NFL. This is something that you've heard me say 15 times this year, whether it's for fantasy or here. I do not think the general public properly calculates how much it matters to lose one tackle. One tackle. To lose two of them, I view the Chargers as a fundamentally different team. I don't view them as playoff competitive. I don't view them as one of the 5 best AFC teams. The damage to your EPA per play, again, per tackle lost, is massive. Per 2 tackles lost, and then 2 all-star, almost all pro level. I mean, Joe Alt was all pro level. Rashawn Slater's, probably more like a perennial all-star kind of guy, or Pro Bowl, I should say, kind of guy. That's massive. It's absolutely massive. I know that the fantasy community is excited about getting Omarion Hampton back. I am too. I really like the player. I drafted a ton of him this year. He had a high ankle fracture. Okay, that's a really serious injury. Kamani Vidal's a great player. I think they're going to be a pretty good tandem together. The Eagles are pretty hard to run on. They really are. It's not like something where you go and run all over them. Even with Jalen Carter, and I'm aware it's a little easier. I think with those offensive line injuries, I expect this to be a one-handed Justin Herbert dropping back and trying to win the game with one hand out of the pocket. Lad McConkey is now their only reliable pass catcher, at least over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Each guy, has a little bit of a time there, but they have not actually really been rolling for the last month or so. Gadsden's sort of fallen back to earth. Keenan Allen has fallen back to earth. Quinn and QJ, same thing. So I'm pretty confident in the Eagles -2.5. And then the over-under is just 41.5 is like, to me, that's a pretty weird number to put on this. I don't know exactly what that expectation. Maybe it's a lot of respect for the Chargers defense, maybe. But that, to me, that's more like a trash matchup where you're going to get 41.5 points. I felt like for 2 teams, one of which was in the Super Bowl last year, the other of which has been a top 10 offense, it was just too low. It's basically indoors. SoFi Stadium is basically indoors in nice weather in Southern California. That was a very easy click for me. I'm going back to my same game parlay with the spread and the total here. It'll be a fun sweat on Monday night, a little 3-unit sweat, or
Yeah,
2.5
man.
units.
Like for me, so the reason I didn't take the Eagles against the spread, and for the record, if Jalen Carter was playing in this game, this was my favorite pick of the week, Jalen Carter being out and seeing how the Bears ran on the Eagles freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah,
So I landed on the over, but really though, where I stand on this game, right? I love Justin Herbert. I've like been a Justin Herbert bull. I've always kind of been higher on him than the market. I want to say I know that he's gotten a lot of shit based on his playoff performance last year, and people are starting to call him like potential man or if man or whatever, right? But when I've watched a lot of Chargers football this year because like I've had so many of their fantasy guys, right? What I see is Justin Herbert just going out there every week without Joe Alt and just getting slaughtered behind that line. It feels to me like this Chargers line, the current state of it, is like if you went to a truck stop and found five like burly men. They were like, "Hey, can you want to play offensive line for the Chargers?" Like that's
like
how bad
loggers.
they are right now. Yeah,
Like if you took redwood loggers and you threw them out there.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
like essentially what's happening right now. Especially like you lose your two tackles, right? And Mekhi Becton, he either has the shits week one in Brazil or he gets whatever knee injury. Like he's been like half of himself, half of what he was on the Eagles last year. So listen, with the bad hand, right? Justin Herbert's going to be, if he plays in this game, even that's not even guaranteed yet. But if he plays in this game, he's going to have like a surgically repaired hand with like a screw in it, right? And you're telling me you have one of the like a turnstile of an offensive line that's going to get your quarterback hit. Jalen Phillips is going to be out there like one bad hit, and we're getting the Trey Lance experience in prime time. I love Trey Lance. I wish he would have worked out for the Niners, but that's a bit of a matchup against the Eagles here, right? So, I mean, like, if you want to be like the Chargers optimist, right? You'd be like, well, Lad McConkey's playing really good. I think Lad has a big game here. You know who's going to be on Lad McConkey, Yanni?
Well, it depends if he follows him inside, but yeah, you get the Quignon grip. What did they call
No,
it?
no,
Oh
no, no,
God,
no, 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 no. He's not getting
oh
Quinion.
Cooper DeJean, Cooper
My
DeJean.
God, he's the best
Uh,
slot corner. There's going to be some white on white crime in this game, dude. I don't think
did
there's a
you see?
better matchup.
Sorry, did you see the viral tweet where it was like, "We need to get this mic'd up," so it's like, "Hey, buddy, you better be careful," or it's on people. That's gonna be the shit talk between those two, the whitest shit talk in the world. Yeah,
Yeah, man. Like, so that's a tough matchup for Lad. I really think it is. Like QJ,
oh,
I feel like
stop.
he's is Cooper DeJean not one of the best slot corners in the NFL right now?
He's pretty good. He's pretty good, but I
He's
think
elite, elite slot
I
corner.
I think Lad McConkey. Well, so the thing you have to remember about the Cooper DeJean, it's actually funny we have two white guys that do this because one of them's in Denver too, with Riley Patterson or Riley Cooper, Riley Patterson, right?
Mhm.
Whatever, the
Riley
Broncos
Cooper
corner.
shouted racial slurs at a concert.
Right. I'm sorry. So yeah, not Riley Cooper. Forget what his name is up there in Denver. The other guy who plays across Sertain. But dude, when you have like, so here was the nickname Quinyanamo Bay. Thought that was so good for Mitchell on the Eagles. But when you have a corner like that, it forces a lot of volume to the other guy. And Riley Moss in Denver. When you have a corner like that is that good, it forces a ton of volume to the other guy. And like Cooper DeJean, dude, to take that kind of a task on week by week, he's getting force fed a ton of volume. Yeah, so in that regard, he's really impressive because whatever his numbers are, they don't tell the whole story of him being one of the more targeted corners in the NFL because his team has the lead a lot. And then he's across from a shutdown corner. So yeah, I mean, I'm messing around, but I also think Lad McConkey's easily one of the best slot players in the NFL, easily.
It'll be a good matchup in there for sure. But yeah, so like the reason I came to the over, right? It's like okay, the Chargers, I think probably live for 17 to 20 points, I think, but I
Yep.
really am liking what I'm seeing, at least partially from the Eagles offense. The AJ Brown involvement is exciting me a little bit. I feel like the Eagles in this game, and this might be a hot take, I think they might get close to this total by themselves. I think this is probably not going to be close. Like, if I had to rank like my most likely outcomes, I think the most likely outcome to me would be the Eagles blow out the Chargers in prime time, and then it's one of those like talking points of the week, right? Because these Chargers games where they've been playing like shit, they've been like hidden during those games, right? Nobody
Yeah.
watched the Chargers lose to the Giants in Jackson Dart's
It's
first
the
start
one.
ever.
It's like the 105. It's the 105 slot. They're always
Hmm.
in.
Yep, they're hidden, right? This Chargers team without Joe Alt almost lost to the Dolphins when they were
The
breathing,
Dolphins.
right? No one saw the
Yep.
Chargers lose to the Jags 35-3, where Justin Herbert was pulled in the middle of the third quarter because it was such a bad blowout, right? I feel like we're getting a good discount on the Eagles here too, like based on what we saw on Black Friday against the Bears. That was really an anomaly. I don't know how the Bears did that. But yeah, I figured without Jalen Carter, it takes out some of the variance. I think for sure this over hits them. So that's how I got there. And that's going to do it for us. Shorter show this week because there was a lot of the same games we had action on. If you made it through the whole video, thank you. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. It helps the channel out. Question of the day for the audience. I want to build off this exciting whites theory here. Who do you think is a better player in the NFL right now at their position? Lad McConkey at wide receiver or Cooper DeJean at corner? I love both of
Yes.
these players. Like they're some of my favorite guys to watch in the league. I think that Ladd is a little bit better than Coop at this point, but I think Coop, I wish he was a Niner, honestly. I wish the Niners had drafted him in the second round. I love that player, though, as seen by my PSA 8 Cooper DeJean auto that I will never, ever sell. My guy. How about you, man?
Our Jackie Robinson.
He is our Jackie Robinson. He really is.
Broke
Breaking
the
the
color
color
barrier.
barrier. Yeah. All right. And we'll catch you guys next week.